All right, let's dive into owning a piece of Phuket paradise. There's incredible villas with the ocean views and that tropical charm. I know you're thinking about buying one. And honestly, who wouldn't be? But before we get to sipping coconut water on a private balcony, let's talk about what it really takes to own property in Thailand, especially for us foreigners.
Phuket's property market is really something, but it has unique rules. Understanding them is crucial before you even think about looking at listings.
So let's break it down. First things first, what are the ownership options for someone like me, not a Thai citizen?
Two main paths, leasehold and freehold. Leasehold is kind of like a long-term rental. You get to use the property for a max of 30 years, renewable under certain conditions. It's popular for those wanting to enjoy Phuket for a good chunk of time,
Yeah.
without the full commitment of owning it.
So like a really long vacation home.
Exactly. Now, freehold is trickier for foreigners. It's outright ownership. But Thai law says foreigners can't directly own land. To get around this, you'd need to set up a Thai limited company. It would technically own the land and the villa.
Interesting. So you're making a Thai stand-in. Why does that restriction even exist? Is it new?
It's tied to Thailand's history, protecting land ownership for its citizens. It's been around for decades, not likely to change. Think of it this way. Imagine a big chunk of Thailand's land owned by foreigners. It could cause problems they want to avoid.
Makes sense. Keeping control over their land. So we get these two ownership models. What's next in this Phuket property adventure?
Before you fall for any beachfront villas, budget. Not just the property price, but fees and taxes too. Legal fees, ongoing maintenance. Having a clear budget from the start will save you headaches later.
Right, those hidden costs can really add up, like those baggage fees at the airport. Not fun.
So where does a real estate agent come in, Essential? Or can we go solo?
It's not mandatory, but I wouldn't advise it. A good agent knows the market, the legal details, the potential problems. They can find properties that fit you.
Negotiate well and make sure you're not being tricked.
Like a local guide who knows the back roads and keeps you away from tourist traps. Okay, budget sorted agent we trust, found a villa that we love. Do we just hand over a suitcase of cash?
Not quite. There's a process. We start with a reservation agreement. Outlines the basics. The price, the payment plan. Any specific conditions, usually with a 10% deposit, to show you're serious about buying.
Like putting the property on hold while we get everything ready?
Exactly. Now the important part, the sales and purchase agreement, the SPA. It's legally binding. All the details are there. Payment schedules, warranties, everything.
Whoa, definitely not something to skim over. I'm guessing a lawyer is essential now.
Absolutely. They need to review the SPA, make sure your interests are protected, all the clauses are fair, and that it follows Thai law. It's an investment that will save you trouble later.
Like they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, especially with property in another country.
Exactly. Speaking of prevention, before we sign anything, due diligence, investigating the property and its legal standing, before committing.
So like a full-body scam, making sure there are no hidden surprises.
We're talking verifying the land title, making sure it's clear, no encumbrances. Think of it like a claim against the property. That could affect your ownership. We'll also check building permits, zoning regulations, making sure it's for residential use. No stone unturned.
So due diligence is where the dream meets reality, making sure we're not buying into problems.
You got it. Protecting your investment, ensuring a smooth purchase. So we've covered in the initial steps the important things to think about. Let's move on to some insider tips and strategies that will give you an advantage in Phuket's property market.
I'm all ears. Let's hear those hidden gems. That will help us navigate this exciting world with confidence. Okay, I'm ready for those insider tips, you promised. What are the secrets to this Phuket property market as a foreigner?
Well, you know those foreign ownership restrictions we talked about.
Yeah.
You can't own land directly. But setting up a Thai limited company, it's pretty common. You as the majority shareholder control the company. The company owns the villa and the land. It's like creating a legal thing that acts as you in the market.
Clever, but wouldn't that make it more complicated? Setting up a company, managing it, the legal stuff. It's a lot to handle.
It can be. But that's why having a good lawyer is key, especially one who knows this stuff. They'll help you set up the company, make sure the paperwork is right, and handle the ongoing stuff. Think of it as peace of mind.
That makes sense when it's a big investment, like a villa.
Yeah.
So besides the company, are there other options for foreigners? Freehold ownership?
There's the option of having a Thai spouse hold the deed in their name, simpler legally, but it has its own things to think about, marital assets. What happens if things don't work out?
Yeah, sounds like a conversation for a lawyer. and maybe a marriage counselor. What about those long-term leaseholds? Any catches, restrictions?
Leaseholds are usually simpler, but there are limitations. For instance, there's a limit on how much land a foreigner can lease.
No.
Also, even though it's a lease, you'll still want to do your due diligence on the property. Make sure there are no issues.
Right. Even if we're just leasing. We don't want any legal problems. You've mentioned having a lawyer this whole time. Any red flags when choosing a lawyer in Phuket? Are there scams foreigners should watch out for?
Sadly, yes. There are some bad people out there. One red flag is a lawyer who guarantees you'll make money or doesn't tell you the risks. Remember, property markets go up and down. No one can predict the future. Another bad sign is a lawyer who pushes you to sign without explaining things clearly. Take your time, ask questions. If something feels wrong, trust your gut.
So be skeptical, do your homework, and don't be afraid to walk away if something's not right. What about financing? We know getting a regular mortgage as a foreigner is hard. Any alternatives, or is it mostly cash?
You're right. Mortgages from Thai banks are usually not an option for foreigners. Some developers, though, especially the ones building big projects or luxury villas, they might offer financing.
So a loan from the developer, not a bank. What are the downsides? There have to be some...
You're catching on. Developer financing can work, but be careful. Interest rates might be higher than normal mortgages,
Yeah.
and the terms might not be as good. Always have your lawyer check it out. Make sure you know what you're getting into.
So it's an option, but not a sure thing. Due diligence is still key. I want to ask about the culture. We're not just buying a property. We're going to be living in a new country with its own customs.
What are some things we should know to fit in and not accidentally offend anyone?
Good point. Cultural sensitivity is important in Thailand. One custom is the way. The traditional greeting. You press your palms together like you're praying, bow your head a bit. It shows respect, used in lots of social situations.
I've heard of the way. It's a nice gesture. Should I do it with everyone? I meet shopkeepers, taxi drivers.
It's always nice, but not required for everyone. You'll see that Thais usually do it for greetings and saying goodbye to people they know or respect.
So read the situation and use our best judgment. Any other do's and don'ts? Thais value politeness and respect, especially to older people and people in authority. Don't raise your voice or get into arguments. It's really rude in Thai culture.
So be calm and respectful. Got it. What about practical stuff? Living in Phuket location, infrastructure, day-to-day things. Is it all beaches and sunshine, or are there some not so great things we should know?
Phuket has a lot of different areas. Each one is unique. If you want nightlife and easy access to things, Patong might be good. But if you want peace and quiet, Kamala or Rawai might be better.
So choose a location that fits our lifestyle. What about infrastructure? Reliable internet, good roads, healthcare.
Phuket's infrastructure has gotten better, but it depends on the area. If you're thinking about a villa in the hills, you might have power outages sometimes, or slower internet.
So there are trade-offs. A secluded paradise might have a few quirks. Anything else?
Transportation is important. Taxis and ride-sharing are easy to find in tourist areas, but having your own car or scooter can be much easier,
Yeah.
especially if you're not in the main areas.
Yeah, taxis can get expensive, and there might be language barriers. A scooter or car might be a good idea.
Definitely. And don't forget about the monsoon season. Lots of rain from May to October. It can affect outdoor plans and even cause some flooding.
So plan for some rainy days, and maybe get some books and games for those nights in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the legal stuff, the culture, and even some practical things about living in Phuket. Now let's look at some resources and tools that can help you on this journey.
I'm ready for those. See what else we can find. Okay, we've covered so much about owning a villa in Phuket. What resources or tools will really help us in this market?
One of the best is easy to access. It's the Land Department website. It's full of information. A lot of it is in English. You can find details on the laws for owning property, search land records, even track the progress of ownership transfers.
So we can actually see the official government records.
That's awesome. This is where we can check land titles and look for those encumbrances.
Right. Yes, transparency is important, and that website gives you that. It's helpful for buyers and sellers.
That's going straight into my bookmarks. What other websites should we check out? I'm feeling like a detective. When you want to talk to someone, check out the Thailand Law Forum. It's an online community. You can talk to legal professionals, real estate experts, other people buying property. You can ask questions, get advice, learn from people who've done this before.
Like a support group for Phuket property lovers. I like it. Are there any specific tools or checklists we should be using while we're doing this whole buying process to help us stay organized and not miss anything important?
Definitely. You need a due diligence checklist. It helps you look at everything about the property and the legal documents before you commit to anything. Think of it as a map for the inspection and verification process.
A giant to-do list for buying a villa in paradise. What kinds of things would be on this checklist?
The most important thing is verifying the land title.
Yeah.
Make sure the seller is the real owner, that there are no problems with the title, no legal disputes. You'll also want to check building permits, zoning regulations. Make sure the property has all the utilities and connections.
And our lawyer is checking all of this too.
Of course. Never forget about your lawyer. They'll go through every document, find anything that looks suspicious, make sure you're protected through the whole process.
Okay, so we've got online resources, our checklist, and our lawyer. What other advice do you have to help us avoid any problems and make good decisions?
Don't rush into anything. Buying property is a big deal. Take your time. Do your research. Ask questions. Don't let anyone pressure you. If something feels wrong, trust yourself and walk away. There will be other properties.
Stay calm and collected. Don't let the excitement of a dream villa make us do something we'll regret.
Exactly. Make good decisions based on facts and good advice. You're not just buying a place to live, you're investing in a lifestyle, a future.
That's a good way to think about it. It's about the whole experience, the memories we'll make in our new home in Phuket. Any last words of wisdom before we finish up?
Enjoy the journey. Buying property in Phuket can be a great experience. It's a chance to have a home in a beautiful place with a rich culture. So do your homework, get good advice, and most importantly, follow your dreams.
I love that. It's about living the dream, not just owning it. On that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thank you to all of you for listening to this deep dive into Phuket villas. We hope you learned something and that you feel more confident about all of this. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to buying property in another country. Until next time, happy house hunting.